Hey there, I'm Lance.
I'm Sam.
And we are Love to Hate.
And today we're taking a look at Cryptodome by Jacob Varro.
Cryptodome is an abstract strategy game in which players are going to be represented by standees in the middle of the board. You're going to be following path tiles that are laid out randomly on the board, trying to get to artifacts, core artifacts on the outskirts of the board. And you have to do this by using programming a little bit in this game. There's some card play, there's some special player abilities, a few little different mechanics going on in this game. Let's take a look at it down below. We'll come back and share our thoughts on this. And also we do want to make sure to notify you that this is a prototype. So everything you see in this video is a prototype. The final components, artwork, even maybe some of the rules are going to look different when the game is released from the Kickstarter. And with that being said, do check out that Kickstarter campaign by checking out the link down below in the description. All right, so here's Cryptodome on the table here. Let me show you guys the components and how this abstract strategy game works. And I do want to remind you, everything you see here is prototype. So there's going to be some artwork on the back of these tiles here, I'm sure. But this is how the board is going to be set up. You're going to have a number of magma tiles that are straightways, some crossroads, and some bends, and then you're even going to have some three, like a T-shaped tile here that you're going to start up putting randomly on the board, making different pathways, and you're going to have these power cores, which are ultimately the goal. This is what you want to try to get to, collecting 3 of these in order to win the game. You're also going to have some artifacts start on the outskirts of the board. And you do have the board set up kind of catty corner where players are going to be sitting on the corners of the board, which is a little bit different, but the where you sit is important in this game because the orientation, the north, south, east, west, is dependent upon how you face the table. So this is how it's set up. And everybody is going to get a character, which again, these are prototype, and so the standees are going to be much bigger than the plastic stand that you see here in my hand. But players are all going to start in the middle here, and what you are trying to do, like I've said, is you're going to follow these pathways, trying to get to power cores. You want to collect 3 of them. Now, there are a lot of characters that you can play as in this game. You can see that there are several here in my hand, and each one is going to come with their own starting moves, such as Took here. He can go 1 space up or down. You start on one of these black squares, moving to the other black square, or as you can see, he can move 1 space to the sides. And he does come with a special player ability here. You may step up walls that are 2 steps high. We'll cover what walls are here in a second to give you an idea of what some of the other starting moves might look like, as well as their player abilities. There's Shade, there's Brick, here's Bisa. And let me show you a couple more here. We've got Sophia and Koji. So that's an idea. That's not all of the characters, but that's an idea of what they do. Now, on your turn, you are going to be taking 2 actions out of 4 possible actions. One action that you might do is you might draw a tile over here and place it on any tile that you see on the board, revealing a new pathway. So, for instance, I could play this right here if I wanted to. I could also, just change up the board. And when tiles start to place on top of other tiles, you can form what are called walls. And so you can see here, this might be a better example to give you an idea of the elevation change here. This tile is just 1 step up from where I'm at, and this one is another step up. And anytime that there are 2 tiles, so this is a 2-step up, that becomes a wall. And most players cannot jump up walls, however, Took here can. That's his special player ability. And so that's a way to kind of block players off from being able to move forward to power cores and that sort of thing. Now, if it ever becomes that there are 4 tiles on a particular space, then that is an eruption. There's an explosion on that space, and you're going to remove the tiles there. And any players that might have been on that space, they're going to move to an adjacent spot. And so that's a way to kind of, again, disrupt players and their paths trying to get to the outside of the board. And so again, you can place a tile trying to change the path. Another action that you can do is you can draw one of these cards here. And on these cards, they're going to come in 3 different varieties. You've got your short, medium, and long. And so these cards are going to give you another movement that you can do. And again, you start on one of the black squares. The lighter gray squares are going to be the traveling spaces, and you have to end where the other black square is. So for instance, if I were to have this right here, being on this space, I could not use this card. Instead, I would have to maybe be right here, and I could have this card in front of me. And this is the third thing you could do on your turn. A third action is using a card that you have in front of you. And so I would follow that pathway up to here. Or I could do that vice versa, moving from this black square to this black square. So that's how that works. Now there are going to be some actions in these cards here that you can hold on to play for additional things on your turn. So you just have to be mindful of that. And as I've mentioned, the cards in the green deck are going to be a little bit longer of movement, and the cards in the blue deck are going to be the longest movement. And so let me find one there, like so. And if you can't move exactly as it's depicted on the card, then you cannot use that card. Now, the final thing that you can do is if you get stuck and you just don't have a way to move, you can always teleport back to start and begin your journey again. Now, you can see that there are these artifacts on the outside of the board, and when you land on one of them, you get to take that and you can use that special ability for the rest of the game. And that's pretty much the gist of the game. It's just the first to get to 3 power cores is going to win. When you take one of these off of the board, that becomes an empty space. If you're playing with 6 players, you're going to replace these artifacts with more power cores. And so there's going to be more than what you just see on the board as the game progresses. But that's the gist of it. Let's go back up top and share our thoughts on Cryptodome. All right, we're back, and now we're going to share our thoughts on Cryptodome and let you know what a gamer and a non-gamer thinks about this abstract strategy game. And so, Sam, real quick, first initial thoughts when you saw this game. You're a fan of abstract strategy. That's kind of one of the things that you do enjoy.
Yeah.
What were your initial thoughts about this one?
It looked a little complicated. It's not like a game that I've played before, just how the board's set up and it looks like a maze.
Right.
So I wasn't really sure what to think at the beginning. It definitely looked more complicated than it turned out to be.
Yeah, you mentioned it looks like a maze. It does. It looks like the game Labyrinth, if you've ever played that.
And it is a little bit.
Yeah, it is. It's got some programming, mechanics to this, and that you have to carefully select which cards or even the player abilities that your character has.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I like that. That definitely speaks to me and the type of games that I like. I like that, having to kind of think through it and what am I going to do and how am I going to make this fit. I like the puzzle aspect of that. That's why I like abstract games.
Okay.
So for me, it was really good. I liked it.
Would you say that Sam, that's something for non-gamers that is easily understood and you don't have to get so complicated with the theme or the different, more complex mechanics?
I mean, I can only speak for me, but I have always said that I do feel like if a game is too themey, then it's kind of a turnoff for me. I'm not one to really get into the theme. I'm not one to feel like I'm a dragon slayer or zombie killer. I'm playing the game. And so I feel like with more abstract games, it's the game.
Okay.
That you can just play the game. And I've said this before as well, but we've all played puzzles before. So I feel like it's our basic first board game is a puzzle.
Okay.
And so I do feel like an abstract game may be, for a lot of non-gamers, a good starting point.
Okay. Now with this game in particular, Sam, is this one that you would say is is simple to understand and straightforward what your goal is and how to achieve that?
It was. I remember when you first set everything out that it looked really complicated, but once the rules were explained, it's a fairly simple, straightforward goal.
Yeah. And I would agree with that, folks, that this is a game in which it's not so much going to tax you as far as needing to plan 15 turns in advance, or even building up an engine or figuring out your strategy, as much as it is understanding how to efficiently use your turns to get your person where you need to be to get the artifacts as quickly as you can. This is a race game, and it's an abstract game that has some programming involved in that. And so this isn't one that's going to, at the end of the night, make you feel like you just did a marathon with your brain, if that makes sense. And so, Sam, you as being a non-gamer, how do you feel about that? That this isn't going to just completely burn your brain or fry your brain?
I mean, I like that. With this game, I was in the lead for a long time, and I thought this game was going to be over in like 10 minutes because I was just that good at it. And then Lance came back and ended up winning, but it was still a quick game. But I liked that it wasn't. So at the beginning, I really thought like, well, this is not that fun if I'm winning that quickly.
Yeah,
still would have liked to win, but for him to be able to catch up as well, I really think you could do the opposite, and the non-gamer could come from behind and catch up and win. Yeah,
this game is definitely one that it can turn on a dime. I wouldn't call it swingy by any means, because it's not as though there's a ton of luck involved in this game.
Yeah, it is just, it's planning, and it's what tiles do you have, and
you do
how to play them.
You do have the cards, and anytime that there's cards, you're going to have luck of the draw. But for me, I found the cards not to be such a huge part of the game. In fact, I found the cards to be more so, I don't want to say a deterrent, because a lot of the cards, the smaller cards seem to be more impactful than the larger cards. And the larger cards look enticing, and they look, oh man, I can move 15 spaces with this one card. But you're going to use that maybe once. Whereas with the smaller cards, you're only moving 2 or 3 spaces, but you can use that time and time and time again. So I wouldn't say that the cards were a huge luck determining factor with this game. It's just more so building up your abilities that you can use on your turn, and then bam, 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 and getting to where you need to be. So not a huge luck factor in this game by any means. Sam, let's talk about the fun factor in this game. As we mentioned, this is a race game. This is all about just getting to those power chords, maybe getting some of those artifacts to give you some better abilities on your turns. Tell me about the fun factor that you had with this.
I think at the beginning, just looking at everything and having your cards and tiles and all that, it was kind of like, how am I supposed to make this work? It did take a second for it to click, but as it did, and you're figuring it out, I found that to be really fun to kind of, get ahead of you and figure out how to get to the what is it?
The artifacts?
The artifacts, yeah.
Or the power cores? Yeah.
I found that very fun. It was like completing a puzzle, finding that last piece, fitting it in, getting that goal.
Maybe satisfying a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I felt about it as well. Whenever I found the correct card or player ability to get me exactly where I needed to go to get that power core. That is just a very satisfying experience with that yes, my plan worked in this game. That's a fun experience to have. Now, when you throw in the fact that you can change the path, you can change the maze, you can add tiles, you can create explosions, that adds some freshness to this game, because the maze doesn't stay the same, and you can kind of throw your opponents for a loop with that. That's a fun experience, or at least I thought that was fun, and being able to do that, change the board up a bit. Now, I will say that I do think that this is a game that's really going to shine at its best with the higher player counts, because the more players there are on the board, the more you kind of have to watch and see how everyone's doing. As is the case with a lot of race games, that the more people are involved in it, the higher the competition level, the fewer the player count, it's not as competitive because I'm just competing against you rather than competing against 3 or 4 other people. So I do think this is one that's going to really shine best at the higher player counts. And then I think it plays up to 6, maybe 8. I'm not sure. You guys watch the other parts of our video to know for certain. But yeah, so play this one at the higher player counts for sure. But it does have a ton of characters, a ton of different cards. You can get a lot of replayability in this, different player abilities. I think this is one that you can play time and time again and not have too much of the same experience, than any of the plays before. So I think it works really well. I think it's one that can be enticing to gamers. What would you say about with non-gamers?
Yeah, I definitely think it's a good one for non-gamers.
Okay, well, there you have it. That is Cryptodome by Jacob Varro. It's running on Kickstarter right now. Make sure to check out that Kickstarter campaign link down below.
Make sure to like and subscribe and push that bell button so you get notifications of all our new content.
I'm Lance.
I'm Sam.
And we are Love to Hate, where we try to bridge the gap between gamers and non-gamers. We'll catch you next time.